Hello people of the internet and welcome to the first discussion video for Secret of the Mimic. Since the game's release, I've been cooking up a few discussion and theory videos revolving around the game, but I figured the best way to start off a discussion was simply, what do we think about the game? Because I don't know about you, but I'm seeing a lot of conflicting feelings regarding Secret of the Mimic. I feel like this is probably one of the most divisive entries in the franchise. So I took to social media and I asked you, the viewers, what are your honest thoughts on Secret of the Mimic? And so for today's video, I have gathered the most common likes and dislikes regarding the game, and we're going to be talking about them. Because even though I absolutely adore this game, I think Steel did a fantastic job. I've been playing the heck out of it. Just like my review with the FNaF 1 movie, there are some very honest criticism and feedback we can give Steel, and really, the only way this franchise is going to grow is with honest criticism. It does look like the majority of the FNaF fanbase enjoyed Secret of the Mimic, so let's hear out some of their positives. First up was the atmosphere and setting of the game, Murray's costume manner, because Steel Studios really did such an excellent job with the layout and the feel of the establishment. They've referenced a lot of real-life businesses like Jim Henson's Creature Shop, which made the animatronics for the FNaF movie. But they took note how companies like Jim Henson's will have their costumes and props just lying around scattered throughout all the rooms, and how the employees have to make paths through all of the props to actually make their way through the building. And Steel really captured that feeling. The moments of silence when you're walking around the factory, when you can really just only hear Arnold breathing, but then suddenly you hear one of the distraction speakers come to life, or you hear the Mimic somewhere around mimicking Edwin or David's voice. Some fans even spotted the mask glowing of the costumes, which is super creepy. It really just makes you feel like you're alone, especially again those moments of silence. But you're not, because suddenly things come to life, not just the suits, but again, the distractions, the voices from nowhere. It just gives the place a really eerie, haunted feel. And then also relating to the map, a lot of people really enjoyed the data diver because it led to so much backtracking and exploration throughout the MCM. Backtracking that you can really tell they were trying to go for with Security Breach, but the Pizzaplex there was just way too big. MCM really is the perfect size. It's small, it's compact, you can pretty much, as soon as you hop into the map, you start exploring, get a feel for where things are located, and then when you finally gain clearance to a previously locked environment, you're able to remember, and honestly, it's not that far away, so you get pretty excited to backtrack and go look at what was in there. For the positives of the story, I saw a lot of people that actually got emotional with the characters and the overarching story. A handful of comments saying that they teared up. I saw a clip that Fiznom even cried, and that's because, quite frankly, the story and the dynamics with these characters are so realistic. They feel so real. There were so many times when I started to feel bad for Edwin. You know, he's losing his wife, he lost his child, his father, he's got a declining business, all his employees and friends are leaving, but then you get another side of the story, more details, and it's like, yeah, you feel bad for this guy, but also he was kind of a dick to his son, not really hanging out with him, always just engrossed in his work, which again, it's such a realistic story. You really get into these characters. And even though some of the voice acting can be kind of hit or miss here and there, again, you just can't help but feel engrossed in these characters. And it's not just the new humans that a lot of fans are getting attached to, it's also some of the brand new mascots. Jackie's really fun, all of her voice lines relating to birthdays and hanging out, she really just wanted to play. Big Top is super menacing, of course. Always with DJ Music Man, he's intimidating. But I also think it's hilarious how his only voice line is, "Tickets, please." Dolly's cute. And she recycles. Looking after the earth. And then, oh my god. Do I need to explain the endings? My face when I first saw the prototype FNaF 1 characters, complete and utter shock. I was not playing that up at all. Genuinely, I was at a loss for words. Ever since we saw that title screen, we knew eventually we're gonna go to that house, and oh my god, the payoff did not disappoint. Being hunted down by the Mimic wearing parts of the FNaF 1 crew, watching film reels that had my jaw literally on the ground, and then oh my god, like even before the endings even started, can we talk about Dispatch for a moment? Can we give a round of applause to Andy Field? That part when he's trying to make you hand over the data dive and he's like, "The door's locked, Arnold. it's gonna have to stay locked until you hand over that device. Please let this be the end of Hand Unit. I need Andy Field showing more emotion and range with his voice performance, cause dude, he freaking nailed it in this game. And now these final two positives that I have, personally, again, I think they're positives, but maybe consider this a transition period into what some fans may consider to be negatives. First up, I have the enemy AI, which has been kinda all over the place in some players' playthroughs. But for me at least, I loved how fast they were. It really forced you to stealth your way around them. A stealth system that works so much better than the one in Security Breach. And then also, unlike Security Breach, when you're spotted by a character, if you break their line of sight, they'll actually lose you. And again, in Security Breach, when a character spotted you, they are not getting off your ass. And sometimes, listen, I don't mind Roxy being there, but sometimes it gets a little annoying. Maybe it's just me, but I really enjoyed the stealth in this game. I know some fans don't like stealth in FNaF games, especially after Security Breach, but I loved winding up the rats, causing a distraction with them, causing a distraction with the sound cardboard cutout boards. And then lastly, my final positive is just all the lore we got. Again, some fans consider this a negative, but we're gonna get to that in a moment. Honestly, I think probably the biggest surprise in this game was Chica's Party World. We first heard about Chica's Party World back in like, what, 2016? 9 years ago during the lead up to Sister Location. So to finally get some info on that, you know, all the mascots that Chica had, the original design for Chica made by Fiona, details that it was a skating rink. Like, it's just so crazy to get details like that so long after they were first teased to us. And again, obviously the prototype versions of the FNaF 1 crew, I really enjoyed that. I love seeing the inner workings of like real life animatronics from Showbiz and Chuck E. Cheese. So getting that in FNaF was such a treat. Also, finally seeing Fredbear and Spring Bonnie, even if it is just the prototype versions. Such a treat. I think we all knew that was coming, Fredbear and Spring Bonnie, but to finally see them, finally get official models for them, again, even if they're prototypes, I'll take it. Cinema. But some fans did not consider this game to be cinema. So now let's move on to some of the negatives that FNaF fans had with Secret of the Mimic. Again, I want to preface, I really enjoyed the game, but I do want to highlight negatives so Steelwool and the franchise can grow in the future. First up is the fact that this game still launched with quite a few performance issues. Thankfully, the game only crashed once for me on stream, but after the stream replaying it, I did get soft-locked quite a few times during that intro area. Thankfully, Steelwool is already working on a hotfix that should fix some of those crashes and soft-locks. However, also, those things shouldn't be in the game when it launches, you know? So just general performance issues, general bugs and glitches with the game, soft-locks, crashes, all that bad stuff. I was gonna say all that good stuff, but no. They're bad. Second complaint that I saw a lot of fans have was the notable lack of Jackie, or really any of the quote-unquote main characters. But especially with Jackie, because she was on all of the marketing for this game. There was a real-life Jackie animatronic at PAX. That demo at PAX featured only Jackie levels. She's on every single key art for this game, and yet she has really one encounter that lasts maybe 10 minutes? Same thing with Big Top and Dolly. I saw a lot of fans complain that they felt like one-and-done characters, despite being the main marketing material for the characters in the game. Because the Mimic is able to adapt to any costume and character, obviously you're gonna have a lot of suits around the map. But because the majority of the character encounters that we have are with these random suit characters, well, it makes sense to leave the main characters in their own gameplay sections and areas. That also means we don't see them randomly around MCM. Most of the time we see the Mimic inhabiting a suit, it's a random mushroom or a random jester. But I think in my opinion, that just made those moments with the main characters hit that much harder. But at the same time, I kind of understand people's complaint about the lack of Jackie because, again, she was all over the marketing. Something else I can kind of agree with are the tedious puzzles in the game. The Connect the Power puzzle. Oh boy, this was a treat every single time we had to do it, wasn't it? I think switching up the Connect the Power puzzle here and there, or offering a variety of puzzles throughout the game, would have helped this game a lot. Because every single time I saw that Connect to Power puzzle, especially during Big Top's fight, I'm not gonna lie, a part of me died inside each time I had to do it. Another common complaint I saw was that the game felt slow and that some portions dragged on way too much. I can really only think of one scene in the game that I personally just don't really look forward to replaying, and that's the Foxy's Puppet Show section. Now that is a section of the game that I would say drags on way longer than it's welcomed. But personally, I thought the pace of the game was pretty well established. Even when you're doing a quote-unquote section of the game, for example, let's say the warehouse. There's so many different aspects of the warehouse during that final main hour. You got the warehouse with Chica that you have to dodge. Then you move on to a big crane. Oh my god, actually, I forgot about the crane puzzles. Screw the crane puzzles. Thankfully, there's only 2, but the crane moves so slow, and it takes so long to drop it down, pick it up, bring it up, move it aside, and the controls can be really finicky as well. Also, why am I able to grab nothing when there's nothing below me? It just grabs the air. If I accidentally click, it goes down. There's nothing to grab there. Why are you going down? Now, what really drags on was that tangent. Moving on now, I have replayed the game so many times. Again, I got almost 30 hours in the game, I'm pretty sure. And certainly there are some parts of the game that are slow on replay, but that's just because, well, you've already played them before. And now, even though I praised a lot about the game's stealth mechanics, there is one thing that I have a problem with that I didn't see too many other people talk about. Sometimes when you're in a locker and you have distracted an enemy, or they're just casually walking around you, it can be hard to tell exactly where they are in relation to you. Maybe this is just my headphones, but I feel like Security Breach had a lot better, like, 3D audio, so you're able to tell, okay, the character's behind me, they're moving to the left. There were honestly a few parts where I'm in a locker and I can't really tell where someone's going that I'm like, I kind of wish I had a Faz watch. Imagine that, being able to look on my data diver to see just a few small cameras around my environment, maybe like a small mini map of where I am. Obviously, the data diver does nothing like that gameplay-wise, but it's just food for thought. Now, what's really interesting is that I saw a lot of people say, on one hand, the game is really slow and it drags on. But then I also saw a lot of people say the game feels really short, 3 hours long. For some reason, I saw that number being thrown around a lot. Now, I streamed this game for like 3.5 hours, and I got 2 out of 3 endings, with the final ending having you replay the entire game. So I'm not sure where people are getting this 3-hour long number from, unless they're really speedrunning their way through this game. This game is quite long. And again, especially because that third ending makes you replay the game, which honestly, in some cases, I do consider to be a negative. As much as I love replaying this game, let's say I start a brand new save. To get one of the 3 endings in the game, I have to play through the game twice. That's kind of annoying. Something else that can be kind of annoying are the interactable controls. I'm talking about turning the mouse when you're doing the connect the power puzzle, cranking it when you're doing a generator. Interactable elements like that, you can really tell this game was made for VR in mind. And well, at launch, there is no VR mode, so in flat mode, those controls just kind of feel awkward. But now we move on to, I'd say, the 2 main complaints that I'm seeing for the game. The first one is the lore. Even though some people really, really love it, again, there's a lot of FNaF fans that just don't like it at all. Introducing all these brand new characters that apparently have been around for all these years, to a lot of FNaF fans, it just seems like a shoo-in, just seems like a retcon. But the biggest complaint I see regarding the lore is something that I don't think a lot of fans are grasping quite right. Since the game's release, I've seen a lot of fans say, oh, come on, you're trying to tell me Edwin created Fredbear and Spring Bonnie? He's responsible for Fazbear Entertainment? But I really think they're misinterpreting what we saw in the game. Fazbear Entertainment is already an existing company. We're told not only in the trailer well before the game came out, but also in the game itself, Edwin is a contractor for Fazbear Entertainment, for Henry and William. So while it's true that he helped create some of the animatronics, and in Fiona's case, design some of the characters like Chica and seemingly Foxy, but for some fans, even that, a contractor, is just way too extreme. They don't like the fact that there was some third party. They don't like the fact that Henry and William didn't do it all themselves. But again, I think a lot of fans are just really misinterpreting what Edwin's role is in the origins of FNaF. He is a contractor. Again, as we saw, he did help manufacture the early prototypes of the FNaF 1 crew, of the Springlock suits, but that doesn't erase what Henry and William did and also stand for in the game's lore. That topic in particular, I'd really love to know your thoughts on. Do you think a lot of FNaF fans are just misinterpreting? Do you think maybe I'm misinterpreting? But now let's move on to probably the biggest complaint I've seen. This isn't FNaF. I miss the simplicity and the uniqueness of Scott's early Click Team games. What is this Poppy Playtime clone? FNaF isn't free roam. FNaF doesn't have chase sequences. That's Poppy Playtime, baby. Secret of the Mimic just feels like your typical run-of-the-mill free roam horror game. As much as I adore and still cherish those early Click Team Scott games, that's just not where the franchise is heading anymore. For some fans, like me, that can be exciting. FNaF is trying new things, it's pushing its boundaries. But for some fans, now FNaF just feels like any other free roam horror game. Again, like Poppy Playtime. The amount of people I have seen, even Markiplier, compare this game to Poppy Playtime has been quite shocking. My buddy Sheep Rampage actually just posted a pretty good video on the topic that I will leave linked down below. Just because two games feel the same, that doesn't necessarily mean that's a bad thing. Sheep talked about in his video that he'd love to see some features in Secret of the Mimic be incorporated into Poppy. I'm pretty sure even in my playthrough, once I saw those cardboard cutouts, I was like, it's Poppy Playtime now. But at the end of the day, I think even if the two games feel similar, is that really the end of the world? Inspiration comes from so many places that I'm sure, yeah, Steel probably took some influence from Poppy Playtime. But they also took influence from Alien Isolation, 70s and 80s slasher movies, also Jim Henson's Creature Shop, like we mentioned earlier. Are they copying those things now? I think it's an easy accusation to make, so fans just throwing it out to hate on the game. Again, I think in some parts they're fair. I think the chase sequences absolutely derived from Poppy Playtime. I think having some gameplay element to spice up those chases to make them feel more unique to FNaF would aid them greatly and would help dispel a lot of these accusations. I feel like the closest we get to something like that is in Jackie's Chase, where we have to pull levers to open doors. We have to start cranking it in front of Jackie to power on a generator. But honestly, I'd love to know your thoughts on this topic in particular as well. But those were the most common likes and dislikes for Secret of the Mimic that I saw. I'd love to know what are your likes and dislikes for the game in the comments down below. What are your pros and cons? I want to preface again, I really enjoyed this game, but I think giving honest, fair criticism is the only way we can help Steelwool and the FNaF games grow and expand in the future. But that's gonna do it for this first discussion video on Secret of the Mimic. I know it was kind of all over the place, rambly. Raccoon. The next few are going to be a lot more structured and scripted. I just wanted to talk openly about my thoughts on the game. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all on the flip side. Goodbye.